Hey everybody, welcome to Shut I Love with Jason Stewart. It's nice to be on the air again. I want to remind everybody that my show is sponsored by Scott Crawford and Casa Crawford Airbnb. It's in Silver Lake. It's an incredibly beautiful home, very close to downtown, very close to Hollywood. And if you want to make reservations, you just go to 323-663-1664. Once again, that number is 323-663-1664, and you can get a Airbnb right here in Silver Lake, California. That's our sponsor. Thank you so much, Scott. Today, our guest is Fiona Goodwin. Now, Fiona has a one-woman show that is called A Very British Lesbian. And my dear friend Wendy Hammers, who is the queen of the spoken word with her Tasty Word show, Tasty Words, right?
Yeah, Tasty Words.
Tasty Word show, has told me that this is the most incredible show. I've gone online, I've watched it. This woman is very funny. I'm not talking about just regular funny. We're talking about laugh out loud funny. And I've got her on the show. Fiona, welcome to the show today.
Thank you, Jason. Delighted to be here.
Come in closer. She's like very British and very reserved. She actually told me that, but I'm a loud gay Jew, so
I can step it up.
You got to step it up a little bit with me. So first, I've been trying to get Wendy to do something with me for 150 years. So what did you do to get her to direct your show, Wendy Hammers?
Yeah, I can tell you that, Jason. What I did is I stalked her over
like a true lesbian.
I did for a period of about 3 months.
Really?
I tried to be wherever she would be. I signed up for every workshop. I sat there respectfully and discreetly without pushing myself forward. I just went to everything and that she was doing, and she got to know me a little bit, and
you started sharing your work with her.
Right from the start,
yeah.
I said I'm wanting, I'm looking for a director, and I started out with Terry Silverman, who was a wonderful way to start, but I wanted to move on and become a little bit more. I wanted to make some money, actually, Jason. God forbid.
You come from being a teacher, right?
Yeah.
So you're not an actress and you're not a stand-up comic.
And a psychotherapist.
Oh, no wonder when we were talking before, she was psychotherapizing me. And I'm a Jew, so I love it. So you come from being, so that really tells you, because being a teacher is somewhat stand-up.
Oh,
it's a long stand-up show that won't fucking end, right? That's what I've heard from friends of mine that are teachers.
It's 5 for 5. You have 5 separate gigs, sometimes 6 separate gigs a day, 5 days a week for in my case, 21 years. So
wow.
I worked in inner city schools where
in London.
In London and in the Midlands.
Oh, wonderful.
And I worked in schools where if you didn't have a sense of humour, you would not see the light of day.
The poor kids?
Very, very poor. And some of them very poor, very disadvantaged, very demotivated. And I taught French. And, of course, most of these children would never go to France. So I had to find a way of making it fun. Sometimes I just put them on a bus and took them to France.
Really?
Yes, that was very fun.
Where were you when I was a kid?
Yeah.
So tell me, how did this whole show thing start? How did you so you went from being a teacher to a psychotherapist.
Right.
Do you still psychotherapy?
I still have, I have a small practice, yeah.
And then from that you went to?
I was doing counselling in the UK, and then I came here. I did a master's in spiritual psychology at the University of Santa Monica. I commuted once a month for 2 years, for a weekend.
From London to America?
I'd fly out early on a Friday morning. Because of the time change,
Dear God, you must be rich.
Well...
How did you do that?
There is
I had no idea psychotherapists paid so much.
Well, there's a saying that at the point of commitment, the universe meets you.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah. I committed to doing this course, and what happened was I found a relative who worked for Virgin Airlines.
Oh, I love that.
Who just showed up from nowhere.
God bless him.
And said, I can get you cheap fares, and then I got the vice principal at the school I was teaching at said, listen, there's a £6,000 grant for teachers that have worked for...
For those who don't know, pounds means dollars, darling.
Well, it meant $2 in those days. Now it means $1 and a bit dollar. So, and I got this incredible grant. So now I'm not rich
I
at all.
love it. Not a grant, but a grant. Sounds so much better.
So much more money.
Yes, it does. It's because it's a grant. So you grant. Just love it so much. I played a couple of English people.
You do grant well.
Do I?
Yeah.
Oh, I thank you. That's quite a compliment because you guys always say that we can't do your stuff better, but you can do our stuff better. And I hate that. I think there's just as bad
Terrible.
English actors as there are Americans. But we only see your good stuff.
Right.
But now there's Netflix where you get to see everything.
Right.
And I have to say, I do love English stuff, but not everything's great. Anyway, they've got a couple of our crazy things too. So, how did a Very British Lesbian come about?
Right. Well, I was in the closet for a very, very, very long time.
When did you come out? How old were you?
Well, there are stages, as you know.
Of course.
Outness. So I was in secret relationships, probably from the age of about 28.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work.
It was a lot of work.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I know one or two famous people through someone else, and I think, my God, in 2019, it's much harder to do that because there's so much social media within everything in our lives, to the point of having a Facebook page with your family, to being a well-known actor and having a fan page. So why did you choose to be in the closet for so long?
Well, nobody knew any lesbians.
But you lived in London. That's a major city.
At that point, I was living in the Midlands.
Oh, in the Midlands. Tell people at home what that is in America.
The Midlands, it's the middle of England.
Right. It's a meaning, but in terms that part we did get.
Sorry.
This American did.
But
meaning that means sort of that's like Arkansas or that kind of
Warwickshire, Stratford-on-Avon.
So meaning
the Cotswolds.
So that to Americans, what would that mean in terms of what would be
see.
comparable?
Yes.
Would it be like living in the South?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would.
It was a small town.
Small town, and nobody, when I was growing up, nobody knew a lesbian. Well, when I was 22, actually, some lesbians moved into our street, and we all avoided them, obviously. And we knew they were lesbians because they had very short hair and they looked miserable.
Uh-huh.
And so that's not true, obviously.
It's a good joke, though. But they honestly, that is the old. That just even saying that as a joke, and then I got the joke, means that that's a group experience, which means that was a true thing of people growing up at a certain age. Is that being a gay person did not seem like a fun thing to be. It seemed like torture.
Yeah.
Who wants to be in a group of people that everybody hated?
Yeah. And they were brave. They were being very brave, and they were very out. And
did they have the short haircuts and the
short hair, and they had the clothes.
Right, the whole look.
Yeah, the whole look, which terrified me, and I was terrified of spending any.
So for those who can't see, Fiona has a blonde hair, and it's these really cool glasses, and this really neat sweater with a cowl neck and tight black pants, leggings, and some real cute boots. So she wouldn't, red nails. So you wouldn't look at her, and lipstick, and you wouldn't look at her and go, oh, lesbian. You'd go, oh, Midwestern housewife, or art curator,
right, yeah.
or teacher, or shrink, Yes.
Well, I mean, it's a mixture of things because I worked so hard at that, not looking like a lesbian for many, many years. So it's been hard for me to kind of gradually integrate some of the lesbian clothing,
Have you wanted to, or just?
I have secretly wanted. I have a secret desire to wear a suit, a tuxedo.
It fascinates me. This is what's fascinating me. Intellectually, I understand it, but emotionally, I don't. So if you want other women, why would another woman want you to look more like a man? In terms of which is such an old guy thing to say.
I know.
But it is fascinating that you want the other person, but you want the identity of somebody who's straight. But yet, then as I'm saying this out loud, I'm thinking to myself, that's an old guy talking, because the reality is that people are so gender fluid now with their clothing and stuff. You and I come from a different time where male and female was very easily delineated. But also, in different parts of the country, or the Midlands, or Arkansas, or I call it the A states, Alabama, there's still people that would consider us just completely oddball just because of the way we're even dressed now.
Exactly.
Why an old guy like me still wearing tennis shoes?
Mm-hmm.
Still
Mm-hmm.
not wearing a collared shirt. Wearing just a sweater with a V-neck with a T-shirt. It's considered to some people would be depending on where you live.
Mm-hmm. And also because of the challenge of coming out for whoever you are, you don't always know whether people take on an identity out of defiance and out of protest, a look, that says,
or because you think you have to,
or because you think you have to,
or because you think that's what you do for them to find you.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a kid, I read this incredible book. It's called New York. The Gays of New York. I don't know if you've ever read it, and it's a bit repetitive, but I still love the book because it told the beginnings of how we found each other. People would wear a red tie. A man would wear a red tie, or you'd wear a certain kind of boutonniere, and it was so difficult.
Right.
And so unless you were appearing to be transgender in some fashion.
Well, one of the challenges I had was that when I was in the closet, I seemed to have no problem finding women. But when I came out,
did you find women that were in the closet too?
Yes.
Yes, I found that too. That same experience.
It was easier. And then I came out, and people said, you should go on a dating site, and I wanted to throw up.
Why?
Why? Because I think my homophobia was so deeply entrenched. I just thought I don't want to do that, And I've been on dating sites to meet men, in my attempt to be straight.
When did you come out? How
well,
long
I
ago?
came out probably when I was properly in a relationship, open relationship with another woman, probably when I was about 48.
Do you tell your age?
Do I tell my age?
Yeah.
In the show? What?
In your show or in real life?
Yeah, 61.
Okay.
I am 61.
She said she's 61. I just dropped something.
Yeah. No, so it was late.
Just to give a context.
Right.
Yeah. So you were on 48 when you started saying out loud, hey, this is my partner. This is my girl. This is...
Right. Yeah. But I mean, there's no holding hands in public, obviously.
No, because there's fear of violence is the first thing, and fear of retribution for doing something that simple.
Yeah.
People don't realize that if I go to meet my boyfriend at the airport, I have to think about, should I kiss him? Who will be there?
Mm-hmm.
Will something physical happen to us? Not that I have a boyfriend that I have to worry about that now because he went back to his ex. But anyway, that's another story. My lovely life. But I understand what you're saying.
Right.
We have people don't realize that there's a context that we have to live under.
The thing that helped me when I first properly came out was I met a girl who was, I say girl because she was 21 years younger than me, and she decided that this was going to happen, and I didn't suspect anything because she was far too beautiful and far too young. So this was the very first relationship, and so we would be walking around the supermarkets. Another reason why I didn't want to be openly affectionate, because one time we were in a supermarket and a lady came up to us. She said, "Oh, you must," and there was a child as well. We had a child at one point, and she came up to me and she said, "You must be so lovely to be a grandmother." And that.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. I waited this long. Thank you for pointing that out to me. That I waited so long. That now I'm a grandmother. This is my daughter.
Yeah. So that
she had a daughter. She had a kid from a previous relationship.
No, while we were together.
You adopted a child?
No.
Fostered a child?
No.
Stole one?
I would pretty much say it's more stole than anything.
Oh, is that in the show?
We broke up. Yes.
Oh, good.
Yes, we broke up briefly, and when we got back together, and literally 4 days after we got back together, we continued living in the same house because we were too lazy to move out. And it was such a nice house that neither of us went. It was Rock Hudson's old summer house.
Oh, in England?
In Hollywood Hills.
Oh, in Hollywood Hills.
Yeah, it was such a lovely place. So we were both standing firm on who was going to live there and so on. And then she broke up with this chap who's a very nice guy, and came back to me. And literally 4 days after getting back together, she comes out of the bathroom with a pregnancy test, and she's pregnant.
4 days.
Yeah.
Gosh.
So
So she's bisexual.
Well, she was trying to be straight, bless her. I don't think she's bisexual.
Well, I always think that there are different degrees of sexuality. There's 20, you know,
I agree too.
80. Maybe she was 95, 5, and that, or 90.
In her case, she was having a valiant effort, and didn't. I don't want to speak out of turn, but I don't think that the sexual relationship was particularly enjoyable for her.
So that was your experience of how she described it.
Yeah. But she wanted a child, and she wanted a man. She wanted everything. That she was under the same pressure that we all are under. How can I integrate? How can I live a normal life?
So how did the whole show come about? From somebody who came from a background of being a teacher to a psychotherapist.
I did this master's. I was commuting, doing this master's program in spiritual psychology, and I had been in a relationship with a married woman for 11 years. And
married to a man or married to another woman?
She was married to a man, yeah. And that was problematic. And I felt like my life was getting smaller and smaller because I couldn't tell anybody except my therapist. I couldn't tell anyone what was going on because I didn't want to, mess things up or expose anybody or whatever. So when I started doing this course, I thought, I just felt like I wanted a bigger life. I was living a secret life. It was wonderful and terrible all at the same time.
Leslie Gore wrote a song about that.
Really?
It's called My Secret Life.
Right. Right.
And I heard that was about being a lesbian.
Wow.
In a film called Grace of My Heart, starring Ileana Douglas. I don't know whether it's true, but it seems that way.
I must see it. Mm-hmm. So I loved this woman, and she loved me, and but being exposed to somewhere where being gay was not a problem, I thought, well, what life am I going to have staying in that relationship? I loved the idea that maybe I could be out and live a different sort of life.
How did this become a very British lesbian? So you went from being totally in the closet, living with women a woman who's trying to be a heterosexual when she was obviously not, to the point of having a child, to having an affair with a married woman to a man, and then you created a show based on this.
It didn't start out as a Very British Lesbian. I came here at the end of the first year. This is a very, very evolutionary course that I was on at the
Say that word again?
Evolutionary.
Evolutionary.
Yes.
Is that a British word, or did you just make that up? Because I thought it was. It's not revolutionary.
Evolutionary.
Oh my God! Is that because it's Eve? It's a lesbian way of saying
it? It is that. Yeah. Thank you.
Love that. So mine would be an Adam evolutionary.
Yeah, you're on the right track, Jason. So this course helped you to dive deeper into who you are, which of course I'd been hidden from myself.
God, I want to take this course. I love rediscovering.
Yeah, so I did this course, and I realized that having come out, I realized that I had been repressing all this desire to perform, and to be on stage, and we were very lucky because Holland Taylor, who's
she played the mother on 2.5 Men for a Million Years, and she's
now with Sarah Paulson,
who's a woman who's close to half her age. Am I correct?
30 years younger.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Holland Taylor was on our course, and she was amazingly encouraging and supportive.
She was the teacher?
No, she was one of the participants.
Oh, wow.
So we got to know each other, and the fact that she was a lesbian.
She never really came out, She just sort of, what I call the way Lily Tomlin says, she sort of sauntered out, and it just sort of happened, and that was it, because she was deeply closeted.
Well, I think being with Sarah Paulson helped, like it did with me being with my girlfriend, because my girlfriend was very beautiful, and Sarah Paulson is very beautiful, so
she's in her early 40s, I think.
Who's Sarah Paulson?
Isn't she? Or she's mid-40s.
I think
incredible Emmy-winning actress. People know her from American Horror Story. Playing Marcia Clark is what she won the Emmy for.
And she's so talented. Amazing mimic as well. Wonderful. Anyway, so being on that course, I realized that I wanted to. I announced at the end of that course, I want to live in the marina. I want to do stand-up comedy, and and I'm gay. I mean, I just felt the need to announce. So I resigned from my job immediately and came over, and somebody phoned me up and said, "Would you like to, again, the universe meeting me on the way? They said, I have a friend who needs someone to live on their boat for a while. Would you like to do that?"
Live on a boat?
Yeah, in the marina. That's what I wanted.
Marina Del Rey.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I lived on a boat, and
see, because you're not Jewish, I couldn't live on a boat because I'd have to tell my mother that.
Okay.
And she'd say, "Living on a boat? What are you, out of your mind? Who lives on a boat? A crazy person lives on a boat."
Someone who loves waking up at 4 a.m. to watch the sunrise. It's amazing living on a boat.
Yeah,
Anyway.
not a 4 a.m. kind of person. But maybe if there was a man that wanted me to be on a boat, maybe I would. Who knows?
Well, I
just don't like the boat look, the nauticals, and the,
Well, it was the only thing wrong with it was the cat. I was cat sitting, and the cat.
Of course, there's always a cat involved with it. Yes, there's always a cat involved.
And it left little piles on the bed every morning, so
lovely.
that didn't go well. Anyway, so I started doing stand-up comedy.
Where did you start doing it?
I went to all different, places around town, and if I could remember one, it would be good.
That's okay. Oh yeah. So you started doing all sorts of open mic with comedy where new people could do stand-up. How did you experience that?
Really good. I mean, just talking with an English accent seemed to be funny. People liked it. I was, I didn't have.
Did you say you were a lesbian at first, or did?
No.
Oh, so you started comedy as a supposed straight person?
Yeah, it's just a not mentioning it person.
Right. Yeah. So you talk about being a teacher. Do you remember one of your jokes?
I had lots of. I had lots to talk about. I talked about Lady Diana and Prince Harry, and people love to hear about that. I don't remember a single joke. I do remember a joke. I remember talking about being attacked by a dog in the park in London, and the man set his dog onto me because I refused to have sex with him in this park. And then I had just read it. I was still, at the time, I was fervently Christian. I was a born-again Christian at the time. Not then, but when I was younger.
Oh, my.
And I'd read a book about a woman in Iran in front of the firing squad who shouted out "Jesus Christ" when she was about to be fired at, and all the guns misfired. Oh. So the dog was attacking me, and it got its teeth into the front at the left. And I shouted "Jesus Christ," and the dog let go. And the joke is that who knew that the dog's name was Jesus Christ? So that was some things along those lines, things from my life. But I wouldn't mention being gay.
When did you start talking about being gay? How did that come about?
That came about when I started doing I wrote a show called A Very British Exorcism, because in order to become straight, I submitted myself to exorcisms, and people tried to get the demon out.
Is that in the show too?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to give everything away.
No, there you go.
I've seen a number of clips, but not the whole show, which I wish that I could, because you haven't been. But you are going to be doing the show here in Los Angeles, California,
right,
at the Beverly Hills Playhouse.
Santa Monica.
In Santa Monica.
Santa Monica Playhouse.
Santa Monica Playhouse.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, Santa Monica, but it's still Milton Casales' old place. That's why I remember it.
Is it?
Yeah, that's where I studied acting with Jeffrey Tambor, and then he used that. That's why
I thought that was the Beverly Hills Playhouse.
That's the Beverly Hills Playhouse. Yeah. But Jeffrey, I have a weird connection. I used to teach for Milton. Right. Did his class at the Santa Monica Playhouse, which Wendy got me into for a year. So you're going to be doing your one-woman show on March 28th at the Santa Monica Playhouse.
Correct. And
people can get tickets how?
On brown paper tickets.
Brown paper tickets, okay.
They can just write in Very British Lesbian, LA.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. So the show, they'll get to see the whole show.
They'll see the whole show.
And that's right. And tell us where else you performed the show.
Where have I? I did a 6-week run at the Zephyr.
The Zephyr here in Los Angeles?
Yeah, last year.
Oh, wonderful.
And I've done it all over. I've done it in people's homes. People
really?
Have big homes. Yeah, I love to do little, parlor things. It's very intimate. And
that's a lot of people are doing things like that over the years. I have a friend that does a play it takes place in a hotel room, and they do it in a hotel room. His name is Terry Ray, and he does it with Mel England. It's called Electricity, and they do it in a hotel room. and
That's
they have
great.
20 people come in, and it's in Palm Springs, and they've been
Uh-huh.
doing it for the last year or two there, and plus they do it in the theater also.
Right.
Yeah.
I also did the Whitefire, the solo festival,
Uh-huh.
and I did take the original version, A Very British Exorcism. I did that in, actually no, it was the previous incarnation, which was my top 10 crushes. So I went from my top 10 crushes to A Very British Lesbian. And then Wendy and I were having a conversation when I'd finally stalked her sufficiently for her to say, I'd like to direct your show. We sitting and having a conversation, what are we going to call this thing? And we already had A Very British Exorcism, and I jokingly said, well, I guess we could call it A Very British Lesbian. And she looked at me and she said, that's it.
That's the time.
And inside of me there was this,
Oh, you just like,
Oh, God.
oh my God, I'm
Oh,
going to be public.
I know, I thought, oh God, this is it.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't get away from it, and I argued with her, and then I thought, no, she's right, that's it.
You have such a calm demeanor about you. This idea, you seem so comfortable with who you are.
Right.
So I don't get the impression from you. You've obviously done a lot of work on yourself.
A tiny bit, just a tiny bit. Just like probably a house worth of, I've probably paid for a few swimming pools.
And now, how out do you feel?
I'm as, well, look, here I am. I'm out.
You're sitting with a well-known
Yes.
out actor and comedian in his office with all his accoutrement, talking about being a lesbian in a show called The Very British Lesbian. So now I'm seeing it a little in your face.
Seeing what?
That feeling of,
shit.
Yeah. But what's interesting is, it's 2019, and it's just, there's a part of me that so understands what you're talking about, and then there's a part of me that this is so far away.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another part of me that thinks, oh God, I'm so sorry that you've had to waste all this time on something that just doesn't matter.
I hear you, and then I think about my life, and I think about what I went through, and all the incarnations. I trained as a nun. I did all sorts of things earlier
in the show.
Yeah,
of course.
To avoid my sexuality in the end, because the exorcisms. You won't believe this, Jason. The exorcisms didn't work, and so.
Well, no, because it's very difficult now. As I get older, I'm having to deal with just being older.
Yeah.
And I have to. Who am I?
Mm-hmm.
Where do I? Okay, well, maybe certain dreams are not going to come true anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really hard for me.
Mm-hmm.
And hard of letting go. You have this idea of who you think you were going to be, and you don't turn out that way.
Yeah.
And not that you can't be happy not being that person, but you have these hopes and dreams of where things are going to go. And your hopes and dreams are in a completely different place.
Totally. I mean, I as a young girl, I was a born again Christian, and they told me they could help me with being gay, with not being gay. I mean, and
they could de-gay you. What better place to go with all women?
Exactly. But then but my idol was, the mega evangelist Catherine Coleman.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Did you believe in miracles?
Yes, I died.
Oh my God! We used to make fun of her when I was a kid because she was so. I don't know if you remember Rowan Martin's Laugh-In. We had a very popular comedy show here from '68 to I think '74, where Lily Tomlin, Goldie Hawn, Henry Gibson, so many brilliant comedians came out of it. And Ruth Buzzy used to do this impression of Catherine Coleman on the show. I believe in miracles. I need to talk to you. Come here. And that's where she was. And her hands would be outstretched, and she'd wear this sort of party dress. You know what I mean? Which was so odd because, you didn't see, in the 70s, you didn't see religious people wear this dress. So for those at home, it was a dress that was sort of a dress that would be go up to her boobs, and then it would have sort of this lace or this see-through thing all over. It was shiny.
It was a flowing robe.
A flowing robe, yes. Yeah. And it was very, very, very girly and very feminine. And she looked like she was at a cocktail party. She was somebody's rich mother, And
well, she embodied all the things I wanted deep down, which was to be
on television,
on that stage. She commanded. She could get football stadiums. And
it just is so funny because I never heard anybody talk. She was in England?
No, and I just.
How did you see her in England?
Well, because somebody, I don't know how I saw her. I didn't see her until I came to America. But I used to go on Christian camps, and there was this woman there, an American woman, who offered to, basically, it's like contraband. She said, I'll send you these tapes, these audio tapes. And she, bless her, recorded the TV shows and started sending them to me.
Cassettes?
Yeah, like
oh,
cassettes.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I would just...
We used to do that with our cousins. We'd do a cassette, and we'd send them in the mail, and so we could talk to them in New York.
Yeah. And I would just listen to them and cry, and I was
because you believed
in
miracles.
I did.
Yes, you did, darling.
And now, I obviously the last thing I wanted to be was to be a very British lesbian. It's the very last thing, and yet I'm so grateful because I don't really care about very much anymore except being fully who I am, and I have a big hunger to do what I'm doing because for example, I sometimes do some private driving as well, and I picked up some people from
for Lyft or
I've done both, but as a result,
Uber.
I've got private customers, which I absolutely love.
Oh, that's what private driving is.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And I promote the show, and I meet people, and I just love it.
It's a great place to.
I went down to the airport, and I picked up 2 Indian ladies, and they were in full saris and everything. I thought I won't mention the British lesbian to them. I didn't want to offend anybody. Anyway, I got chatting to the daughter who spoke English. The mother didn't, and she said, what do you do when you're not Ubering? And I said so, and I'm trying to avoid saying the phrase "a very British lesbian." Right?
It's in the title.
Yes, but eventually, she said, "What is your show called?" I said, "It's called Very British Lesbian." I think I would like to come and see that. Bless her. The following week, she arrives at the Zephyr Theatre. She comes up to me and she said, she's wearing Western clothes, so I didn't recognise her initially. And she said, "Do you remember me? Pick me up in the car." And I said, "Yes, I remember you." And she said, "I'd like you to meet my girlfriend." Now, this girl had been in tears, and she was in tears talking to me because she couldn't be out. And here she was with a lovely girlfriend in 2018,
I guess.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, there's a part of me that just, and I wonder how people at home feel, to be my age and hear these stories. It's so hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
That this is still happening in this world, that we are, wasting our lives with all this, closet stuff. It's heartbreaking that we still have to do this with all the work that so many people that have come before us have done.
Yeah, it's interesting me going back to London and going back to England with the show. One of I guess the piece of me that is Catherine Coleman now. Is the piece of me that wants to go back and say to all the people who are out there who are hiding, whether they're lesbians, whether they, secretly wanted to be a train driver and ended up being a policeman or whatever the thing is, please, can we just, do us, do who we are.
So you secretly want to say, I do believe in miracles. So that's it.
I do. That's it.
With that, I'm going to say thank you for being on the show. And tell everybody again that you can go see her show through Brown Paper Tickets, A Very British Lesbian. And that is March 28th at the Santa Monica Theater in Santa Monica, California.
Right.
And I really want to see it. I wish I could come that night, but I'm actually seeing, as I said before, another friend's taping show. Yeah, but I'm definitely going to come see it, and you'll have to let me know. And I want everyone to go see it because I don't know about you, after having this conversation, I'm just sort of, I'm dying to see it.
Oh, you're sweet.
Just dying.
Thank
you so much for being on the show.
It's been a delight. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care, everybody. Till next time.